let me just paint a picture for all of you. So you just did a competition, right? Maybe you took a week off from training and you're just starting to get back into the swing of things. And I don't know, you're feeling what people describe as post-meet blues. You're feeling a little down about training. You're a little aimless. You're a little lost. Well, if that's you, then this video is also for you. All right, guys. So in today's video, I want to talk about how to continue your training after a competition and why that's so important and why that next block after your meet is so crucial in continuing to feel motivated, continuing to make gains, continuing to experience progress in the gym and building up to your next goal. Now, there are a couple things that you can do as an athlete, and there's also a couple things you can do as a coach, or maybe something, some information you can relay to your coach when it comes to continuing to train. Now, I've seen it before. It's happened to me. I've seen it with my friends and some of my clients. I've made certain mistakes with my clients too, and I like to think I learned from them. But basically, what happens is you do your meet, you take a week off, or what have you. Maybe you just get right back into the swing of things with training, and things just don't feel right. You don't feel like you're pushing yourself hard enough. You feel like your training is very aimless. You don't even really know what you want to do with your training. And so training just goes to shit. You go down a really dark path of not making any progress, not making any gains, and then you just plateau. And you just don't feel as invested or motivated with your training anymore. And something that I think a lot of people need to take into account to not have to go through that is what they want out of training. You really need to assess where your goals are and what you want to do maybe at your next competition. If you want to do another fucking competition, if this is what you're about. If you're about the powerlifting, well, you're not going to stop at one meet. You're going to keep it going. You're going to see where you can push yourself. So having a goal in mind and really coming up with a game plan to meet that goal is huge. I think at the end of the day, what matters is that you just need to have a goal in place, a goal in mind. You need to be able to build into something. You can't just not have a goal. Even if, another meet isn't on your mind, still create something. Do something. Reflect on your performance at your meet. Look at how, look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, look at what you need to do to be able to become a more well-rounded powerlifter, a more well-rounded strength athlete. And honestly, this is just really basic stuff. If there's a part of you that just wants to continue to get better, then I think this is just the most obvious step to take, and honestly, the best step to take in order to continuing to see progress and continuing to be able to work at something or towards something. Because if you're just done with your competition and you just want to train, look, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but I've done it. I've seen other people do it. You start to feel aimless real quick. And you start to really question why you're even bothering to do what you're doing. So have that goal. Create some kind of goal. It really doesn't have to be another meet prep. It really doesn't. It can be taking an off season and you decide, you know what, I'm just going to get really fucking strong with, I don't know, my RDLs. I'm going to take a break off of my competition style deadlifts because deadlifts have been going great. I don't really need to invest more time into that or effort because I'm not going to do another meet soon. Let me just go on this side quest. All right, let me have a little fun. Let me get this hinge strength that everybody's saying is so important. Oh, but my squat fucking sucks. Okay, cool. Let's be more specific with the squat. Bench press. Yeah, my bench is pretty much ass too. I'm going to get even more jacked. I'm going to, still bench press at least once a week specifically, so I can practice, how I play. These are conversations you need to be having, whether it be if you're doing your own programming, you're having these conversations with yourself, or you have a coach and you're relaying this information to your coach. I mean, it's also part of your coach's job too, to be able to have these conversations with you, be able to reflect with you, give you their insights, and y'all can just open that dialogue. That's huge. you need to have that communication, and you need to set the fucking goal. If you're wondering why I sound like I smoke a whole pack a day, it's because I'm just getting over a cold still. The weather's been really funky here in the Bay Area. Some days it'll be super hot, super sunny, and other days it'll be just like really cloudy or gloomy and raining like it is outside right now. I actually like the rain, I do, but ever since COVID, my immune system is just horrible. I have the immune system of a toddler now. It sucks. And things like erratic weather change, yeah, that really triggers my allergies or something. But around spring, I always get a little sick. It's really annoying. Anyways, beyond just goal setting, beyond just talking to your coach or just creating a dialogue with yourself about training that reflects off of your strengths, weaknesses, and your past performance with your last meet, you should also take into account who you are as a lifter, because everybody's individual needs is going to be different. When you're done with the meet prep, you've just put your body through a whole lot of stress that it can only handle during a meet prep. You build up to that point of meet prep where you're hitting the heavy singles, you're hitting the heavy back downs. You can't just sustain that. And I want to make that clear. You need to recover too, especially after a meet. Now, the period of recovery or pivoting from competition prep, it's going to look a little bit different for everybody. Some people might need a longer time to recover. They might need an entire block where they're not really doing anything objectively difficult or heavy or particularly heavy. You know, like I wouldn't really continue with singles after a meet prep. Now, there might be some situations where that is smart to do, but overall you want to give yourself some bandwidth to not only recover but stimulate and create momentum. And I think one of the reasons why I'm wanting to even talk about this now is because I just finished a meet prep, and my coach gave me my first block of training a week after my meet. I took a little break. I was still lifting, but I wasn't on program or anything. And I saw the weights that I was given, and I looked at everything, and I was just like, damn, it's kind of light. I think I could go heavier. So my monkey brain, you know, I want to lift heavier. I do. That's the athlete in me. Any good power lifter, not saying I'm a good power lifter, but any good power lifter or good athlete, they're going to have that aspect of, yeah, you know what? I'm going to load up a little more weight. You should always have that want or desire to load it up a little bit more. But you also need to be smart enough to be able to say, yeah, if I load that shit up, I'm going to die. So maybe it's not the best time to do it now, but when the opportunity presents itself, I'll seize that opportunity. Any good powerlifter is going to have that mindset. You should adopt that mindset. It's a good mindset to have. That controlled aggression is huge. Now, back to the main point. I got my block, and I thought the weights were way too light for me. I honestly wanted to tell my coach, like, hey, like let's bump it up. I can handle it. Yeah, no, I couldn't handle it. We didn't bump up the weights or anything. I stuck with the program because at the end of the day, that's just the client or the athlete that I am. I'm going to listen to my coach because I know that I and my coach have pretty good rapport and good communication. So I fully trust what we're doing. That's why I've worked with Paris for so long. I think about 2.5, 3 years now. But anyways, and I'm mentioning this because while, sure, on paper, like weights seem really light and I wanted to push myself even more, I'm glad I didn't, because that program was the perfect amount of time for me to not only pivot and recover from the meet, but to also lay down the groundwork for momentum going into the block after. And what I want to talk to you guys about is it's not just important to continuously lift heavy weights. It's important to create momentum. And that's going to look different for everybody after something like a meet prep, after something like, you know, a really intense competition that you've done, right? Because again, we're peaking for it. Your ability to lift certain things at that moment in time, that's not something you can just do willy-nilly. That's why we have concepts like periodization. That's why we build up to those points. So while everybody's needs are different, you might not need a whole block of somewhat lighter weights to be able to create momentum. Still, I think taking a week or two to not focus on the heavier stuff, give your body a chance to recover, give your body a chance to or to lay down a stimulus that you can build off from after. I think that's huge, because not only do I think that it's important to do that for the sake of not burning out, for the sake of creating momentum like I've talked about, but it's also a good opportunity to not risk any kind of overuse injuries. Powerlifting is a very repetitive sport. Not only is it a very repetitive sport, but you also are pushing yourself to maybe not, your top limit every single time you train, because if you're training smart, you're not doing that, but you are getting close. There is no other sport like powerlifting where you can express your 100% maximum. I can't really think of another sport where you really do just exert yourself and put everything in to the weights. And I guess I don't mean this for just powerlifting. I guess any kind of strength-related sport, right? There are not that many sports where you could say that, yep, I left everything out. And I mean literally everything. Your nervous system expressing itself fully. Like, that's what makes lifting and strength training, strength sports so cool. And powerlifting is one of the sports where you can do that. I'm sure there are other fucking sports out there where you push yourself pretty hard, but in the case of powerlifting, there isn't really anything else where you can just give it your 100%, and that's what makes it cool. Now, with that being said, overuse injuries are big in powerlifting. They happen a lot. That's why using variations in training, being smart about how you structure intensities throughout a training cycle is very key. And I think that's another aspect of, understanding your body, understanding yourself as an athlete. If you're a coach, understand your client and how their body recovers, how their body functions, and what they can handle is huge. So being smart in that regard, and knowing how hard you can push your clients after competition so they don't get hurt. Because we're not just trying to, in the pursuit of strength and in the pursuit of getting stronger, we got to pull back sometimes too. We need to create some bandwidth. We need to create momentum. That's what we have to do. We need to create a bit of a cushion so that we can then push forward from. We need to take maybe a step back so that we can take 3 steps forward later. And I think that sentiment really, really hit me at the end of this block, because while I was feeling just fucking racked throughout the first week or two of training with weights that were pretty fucking light, things were starting to ramp up a little bit towards the end of the block. And that's where I was really starting to feel that momentum come back. I was thinking about past meet preps where I would just do a local meet, for fun with friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed my time doing it. But then after, my training would always just feel so uninspired, and I would just feel like there would be a very big lack of goal setting and a way forward. And a part of that is also just what I made of the experience, right? And I think after meditating on that, I think I realized a couple things, which is what I'm presenting to you guys. It's being able to set goals, being able to work towards something. Doesn't have to be, towards another meet, but it can just be, hey, if your goal is to get stronger, cool. Based off my performance, what do I need to do to get stronger? What do I just need to do to see numbers go up? That's the mindset I needed to have. That's the mindset I'm taking now, right? And then second to that, it's also the logistics of actually developing a program for yourself or your client or whoever, knowing your body, knowing how your body works, knowing how you fatigue, understanding that, creating room to create momentum, right? Because we're already we're already swinging, man. We're already swinging when it comes to meet prep. We don't need to keep swinging right after, because your body's going to feel all kinds of fucked up. So pull back a little bit, you know, return to volume, redevelop that work capacity, build yourself up from the ground up again. Well, maybe not the ground up, but lay down your foundation of training so that you can then continue to build on top of. And that's how you create more momentum after a meet. That's how you keep training fun. That's how you keep training interesting. I think training should always be fun. If training's not fun, then I think there's a problem. I don't know. It could be a problem for a number of reasons, but you know, you should feel some kind of excitement about training. You could be like the most tired. You could work a 9 to 5 that's just fucking grueling, but the gym should still be, you know, something you look forward to, at least. Or at least training should be something you look forward to. I don't know. I'm weird. I look forward to training. Even if I had a bad day, I'm still going to look forward to it. I'm still going to try to make the most of it and have it be a productive session. Anyways, guys, if you stuck around for this long in the video, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate it. If you like what you're seeing, I would greatly appreciate you guys subscribe to my channel, because I do want to post more content on a consistent basis. And yeah, if you like the video, like the video. If you dislike the video, dislike the video. If you know you want to say something in the comments, you can. Maybe I'll just disable the comments. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for sticking around.